HHDG.
Peace, HHDG. This is another episode of HHDG Media Podcast. And on this Friday evening, we have coming out of Orlando, a double threat. Might even be more than that. TzariZM.
Salute. Thanks
Peace,
for having
man.
me. Appreciate it.
How you doing, man?
Can't complain.
Doing
Can't
good.
complain. Yeah. Doing good.
Now, tell the people a little bit about yourself before we start asking you a few questions about, the upcoming project, the new single, and some of your previous work.
Well, absolutely. So been doing music since I was a kid, but on a professional level, started sometimes probably around when I was about 19, 20. So going on about 20 so years. And, it was a hobby to turn into something bigger than that. Living in Orlando, Florida, pretty much family, a bunch of good friends and stuff. We did a lot of great things in the local scene and had a movement as a crew called Paradox Unit. We held a lot of local open mic events that correlated with UCF College, as well as just some other establishments, and did a lot of great things locally. And eventually we started putting out more music. Myself, I put out my first solo album in 2003 called Dirty Work. And then eventually started to put out tons of other releases, or whether I'm directly putting them out or I produced them or featured on them. Worked with a lot of really good artists, really cool people, and traveled. Between Florida and living in Brooklyn for a little bit, Manhattan, born and raised. Well, not born. Well, born in California, but I typically say that I'm just raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I don't remember much about California as a kid, but so yeah, I'm a different breed that came out of Memphis, not the average type of dude, musical dude that came out. Yeah, so that's just it's a little nutshell of my music stuff.
Okay. So which came naturally first, the MCing or the production?
For me, first, it was rapping. I remember being 10, 11. Even before that, actually, my father is a very artistic person. He was a creative. He was a painter, drawer. He was an illustrator himself. He was really big on music. And he gave, myself the tools to express, little radios with the mics on them, and had stacks of cassettes, and he was just like, go at it. So I'll just record myself like saying all types of just random stuff. Like I have my own like shows and stuff like welcome to blah, 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 at 6, 7 years old. And then eventually it just kind of just the confidence. And then I started rapping and freestyling first. And then I eventually started to try to write, and I had tapes upon tapes of just, they're probably whack raps now, but just tapes of just me rapping nonstop. And I grew up. I have a younger brother. He's a year and a half younger than me, and we grew up together. I eventually got him into music. He's doing a lot of great things right now. I guess we could talk about later as well. But yeah, that's how I started. And then the beats didn't come into play until I was a teenager, about maybe 16, I think it was. Yeah, 16.
Okay.
So, and that was the result of just because I needed some beats. Like I didn't have no beats, and I didn't know anyone that made beats at the time. My cousin had this program on his computer, and we were visiting him for the for the holiday. He was in Florida, and he was like, check this out. And I was like, oh. So me and my brother were like, yeah, we gotta make some beats. So that's the start of that. So that was 96. Yeah.
Now, since you have that X-Men t-shirt on, tell us why Wolverine is your favorite character.
He's the greatest of all time. Like, I don't have to talk. No, Wolverine is a childhood, like, iconic, like, hero, fictional hero that I just kind of just like I was drawn to. One of my mother and my father split when I was young, like about 5 years old. She moved to New York, back and forth, New York and DC. So she used to have when we spent a summer one time in DC. One of her good friends introduced me to comic books at the time. I was 8 years old, 8 or 9, and the first comic books he ever showed me were X-Men comic books. So, like where the common person that gets into comics may start off with like a Superman or Batman or whatever. Like he was super into like Uncanny X-Men. So, and I just went to it. I remember reading the comics and I was like, this guy right here, he's tough. He's got heart. Like I was like, this, forget Cyclops, forget everybody. I was all about Logan at that point. And then I started to kind of like embody some of the traits that I kind of got from reading his comic books and stories, and just kind of took it in for myself. So that's just kind of where it is. And even as an adult, I'm a kid at heart. So
yeah.
Wolverine is I rep Wolverine hard. I fight people talking about Wolverine. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's heavy. Yeah.
And to segue with that, you have Logan X-Files soundtrack. Are you planning on making any more projects like that?
I do. Those were some random projects I did, and the initial reasons that I made those were basically beat samplers, kind of like give people like taste of my production in a sampler form. So I remember putting those out on my Bandcamp and sending them to some artists I knew and some other like really good MC friends. And that was the main reason for them, so that they could check them out and they would hit me back like, yo, what's up with that third, fourth beat or seventh beat? It was just kind of like I guess a part networking type of thing too, when I put it out. So, but ultimately I still wanted it to sound like it was an experience regardless. And that's why I put it together. So it mixed like it was some beats, like just kind of transitioning into each other, and it had this kind of cool vibe or whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, as far as to answer your question, I will definitely be putting out more projects, instrumental. The last one I put out was last year in December, called Drum Major. And that's more of an album to me, not really a sampler. That was like a full-on instrumental project that I was trying to knock out, that I had in my head like to knock out for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite samplers that you put out.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah.
So when you dive into the production, what equipment or software is your go-to?
Primarily, I've been using. I'm a big MPC person now. That's not where I started. I started with software when I was a teenager because the hardware was expensive. So I started off with cheap software, a program called Digital Orchestrator Plus. Nobody ever heard of it. My cousin Okedo, who also makes music, he's the one that found it. I don't know how he found it, but next thing you know, I went to go raise money to get a copy for myself. It was like $80 or something like that. And but over time, I use software. I eventually moved from that to Reason, Propeller Reason. Reason was good to me for a while. And what else? After Reason, I decided to start getting to the hardware because I wanted to have more of the pad effect of making beats, because I was a big chopper of samples. So then I moved to the MPC 2000 XL. I stayed there for a long time. An album I put out that I produced called the Embodiment, the Heart and Brain. I did 90% of the beats off that machine. And then eventually I moved on to a 1000. After 1000, I went to the MPC Renaissance, but now I have the MPC Live, and I'm pretty satisfied with it. I still got my Renaissance, but the Live is what I run because they found a good mid-ground of software and hardware now. So a lot of my knowledge from using software in the past, I can really like bring it in and use hardware and it's also standalone. So just like the best of both worlds. Yeah.
Yeah. A few of my favorite tracks on the embodiment is Serious. Is that the one with that was one with Superstition and Acrobatic and jazz Kicking. That one always sticks with me.
That's crazy.
Put that one on a repeat.
That's like my personal like pick right there. Jazz Kicking. Yeah, so that's dope. But yeah, Serious is hard. Like we knew that when we got Superstition on that, like it was gonna be a banger. So I was happy about that one for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. Heart and Brain was a that's the MC on that project is my homie Vice Major. He's also here based in Orlando. Super slept on MC, super good MC. And we worked together before that project for years, some years in the past. We would be on the same like performance circuits and on the same stages, his group, my group. And it just became like organic. He would come through, like, yo, check the beat out. And then we just decided to make a project. And it was a slow grind, but we knocked it out. And I remember releasing that album right when I moved back to Florida from Brooklyn. I mixed that album in Brooklyn, and then I released it when I came back in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Now you mentioned your brother. Is it two brothers? Is it Midas the Beast and I Make Mad Beats?
So, and a lot of people get this confused. Midas is not my blood brother. He's my brother, though.
Okay. You know all right.
That's my little brother, like for real though. But I Make Mad Beats is my blood brother. We grew up together. He's a year and a half younger than me. We both were born in California. We both we pretty much were considered twins through a lot of our childhood, moving up until the move to Florida. And then, we started doing different things, and he moved to Florida as well. But then there was a shift where he moved to New York. I stayed in Florida, and then I decided to go to New York, and he was still in New York. So we lived together, and then he moved back to Memphis.
Okay.
In 2009, I moved back to Florida in 2010. So since then, he's been in Memphis. I've been in Florida, and he's been doing a lot of great things in the Memphis scene right now. A lot of really good things.
Yeah, shout out to I Make Mad Beats. And
yeah.
And for those that would like to, I wouldn't say like. I suggest you check out his TED Talk that he had.
Yes.
That was very good. Was it Someone Is Waiting on You to Be You?
Yes. His label was called Unapologetic, and there's a lot of reasons behind the name of it. But for him, it was that, he's come to a point in time. He came to a point in time where he realized he just needed to be himself, not worry about what people thought, perception, being apologetic about being yourself, your personality traits and all that stuff. So when him finding himself, that was pretty much like the start of that campaign. And he represents a lot of young gunners from Memphis, some really good MCs and artists and musicians. And they've got a great thing going on right now. So, doing a lot of stuff in Memphis that I didn't think would even be possible when I was there. Because I left Memphis, I'm just being honest. I left Memphis because I didn't think I could express my music and be myself in Memphis. In Florida, Orlando seemed more enticing. It accepted me a lot quicker. It accepted me, and I was able to get things popping like nothing. Like as soon as I moved, so it was a different move for me. But him going back to Memphis and creating that movement is monumental. Yeah.
Because there's a particular sound that when you think of Memphis that you're going to hear from out there.
Exactly.
So, you understand that.
Yeah. That's where James and I Make Mad Beats. That's my brother James. That's where we were different because when we went to high school, we were just different. Like people didn't really we were like, yo, they're weirdos. You know what I'm saying? And it would come down to just the way I was dressed because I would spend summers up north with my mom.
Yeah.
So when we go school shopping for clothes, I bring home all this stuff from up north that no one from South has seen.
Yeah.
So, they're like, oh, look at you Wu-Tang or something. Kind of just putting you in this category and stuff. And I'm like, hey, whatever. So So James, myself, two of my best friends, we created a group called The Strangers, and that was our first rap group. It was The Strangers, and we were proud of it. Like we didn't care. Like when there was talent shows and stuff, we did our first talent show in '97.
Mm-hmm.
It was the very first time I ever did a performance, and you know, like this is a talent show full of like Memphis type vibes, right? So you got this like hardcore, like, you know, crazy like drum break sounding music and some straight up New York sounding type raps. When I say New York sounding, right? And but they were like, whoo, y'all killing it. You know, like that was like a level of acceptance for us, was that talent show. So we knew we had something at that point. And so that was cool. And that's why I decided to really push the music after that experience.
A true breaking point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah. People need that. Like, you know, some people don't really get that moment, right? They have to just continue to like kind of find out if they belong or if they need to do something to prove something. So I was fortunate that, you know, that I was confident enough to show talent and people accepted it, no matter what the situation was. So, you know, so all those years of being considered weird or whatever, it kind of turned around, and it was a positive weird, like, yo, y'all good, you know, like keep doing it. You know, like, so, you know, that was a good energy to get like coming out of high school for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely big.
Yeah.
Now we mentioned one of your favorite comic book characters. Tell us about your favorite Star Wars character.
I mean, that's Vader all day. Vader because Vader because it's all about Vader. Like the whole story, like it's all about Anakin. Like whether you like it or not, like the Star Wars story is all about Anakin. It's all about Vader, and it's a full circle story. Like, you know, they show you how he was when he was a kid,
right?
And how he was innocent and he was exposed to a lot of bad things, the dark side, you know, and any kid that gets exposed to those things and constantly deal with trauma, they're going to be messed up in the head and something's going to happen, right? Yeah. So he faced a lot of adversity, a lot of issues, and kind of got forced into that dark side. So when he got into that dark side, he became Vader. So then now his kids, his offspring are out there doing things. You know, the offspring, Luke, Leia, you know, so they're doing things. Luke catches Win, who's his father. We all know the scene, right? And what happens? Luke tries to reach out to his dad. He's like, I know there's some good in you somewhere. And there was, right? So at the end of the day, Vader saved the universe. In my opinion, that's how I look at it. Right. He allowed Luke to do him, and in that dying moment. So I always think of Star Wars as like it's comparable to life. Like you can start somewhere and do some things and still come around and do good at the end. Right. So me and my brother, I Make Mad, we talk about Star Wars like that's our thing. Like,
okay.
Like, yeah, he's big on Star. He loves it too. And we both know that story like represents like life. Like it's a life story. So we're very passionate. I'm very passionate about Star Wars, and you know, I'm fortunate I have a wife that's also passionate about Star Wars. And
okay.
So it's something we've been passing down to our kids, and they're big on Star Wars too. So it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Now, sticking on Darth Vader, that logo that you have with the split of you and Vader. What? Yeah. How did that come about? Because I like that logo.
So man, that's I didn't come up with that logo. My homie D did that. He's a designer. He comes up with t-shirts and stuff like that. He just hit me. He knew how I felt about Star Wars, and had a couple of photos of me because I ordered some like t-shirts through him, and he hooked me up or whatever. And then he just sent it to me. And he sent it to me. He sent me the Photoshop files. Like, yo, check this out. And I was like, woo, that's hard. And I was just like, hey, I'm taking this. This is cool. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And I remember like a year later from that, when I was like, all right, I'm gonna start like using this. It started giving me ideas of like projects and stuff. But anyway, I just ended up making it my mantra because, my name's Czar. TzariZM originally was just Czar, right? When I first got that name, my brother and I were in the dictionary. Just being straight up, we were in the dictionary, and I was 16. Yeah, it was right around the time we started learning to make beats, and we were like, we need some better names because my name before that was like T Dog or some whack stuff like that. So, and his name was something whack. So he's looking through, and he sees Czar, and there's like multiple spellings of Czar. Everybody knows the CZAR,
Yeah.
then whatever, but there was also a TZAR one in there. I was like, I like that. And Tarek is my first name, my real name. So I was like, I like the T. So I rolled with that. And so I became Czar, and then I just added some extra stuff, and I called myself Czar the Emperor. And then so I was that when I first moved to Florida, like on flyers, when I performed, it was Czar the Emperor. And then a homeboy of mine, rest in peace, he just passed out that long ago due to COVID. He actually he used to call me TzariZM. He just for fun. He'd be like, TzariZM, like you're like an element, like you're like part of the culture now, like it's an ism, like whatever. And I'd be like, yeah, that's what's up. I would laugh about it, but then it just kind of stuck, and I just decided to shorten that Emperor stuff and just bring it down to TzariZM because it did feel more. I felt like I was evolving, and that was just the way to go. So, so yeah, it was a dictionary thing at first. I found Nemesis for him, so his name was Nemesis Enforcer. So that was his name. But then we shortened it. For some reason, we shortened it down to just Nemo because that's a long name. Just using the first two, it just became Nemo. And then he named himself I Make Mad Beats eventually. So
okay.
But that's where it started. As far as that. So I'm sorry, the segue. So with Czar, I used to give myself like nicknames. So Czarface, Czarmageddon, Zardy McFly, but then I just started doing TZ McFly. And then I eventually did Zarth Vader, right? So I just used my name and just created all types of different like nicknames, really. So Zarth Vader is one that kind of just stuck around. Yeah.
That's
so
interesting.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna stick to a little bit with Darth Vader one more time. Have you checked out any of the recent comic books with him in the past few years?
Some of the first issues just to have them as collectors, but I haven't physically picked them up, but I keep up with some of the stories and online, and have found correlation to a lot of different things that are popping up. But I play any game that's usually with Darth Vader, and I play. I'm a big gamer. I play a lot of video games. But I'm in touch. I just don't physically keep the issues, but I'm in touch. I have some #1 issues somewhere around here in my room somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, because the comics are pretty good. They delve really deep into it, and they also show a lot more of a darker side of him than what you see in the films. Like I think the most we've probably seen dark of Darth Vader is in the Rogue One movie at the end.
Yeah,
that was like a horror movie scene right there.
That was bad. Yeah, true. Yeah, the comics definitely got more substance. Definitely deep dive into who he is. Like what got him that way. And being it's a comic book, they can show more things than what you would probably see or experience in a movie or whatnot. So definitely got love for those comics.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna shout out to DJ Dolo76 who hooked this up.
Yeah, that's my man.
Tell us how that connection's been.
Dolo, man, we go back to probably about 20 years. Yeah, when I came into the Florida scene, when I moved to Florida in '98. So when I moved here, like I said, my intermediate family, like my cousins, we were all making music, but then we eventually made a full crew. called the Paradox Unit. So we would do shows and this and that. And a couple years later, after that, around 2000 or so, there was another group of individuals that were very talented. They were popping up on the scene and doing shows too. And the name of the label was called Deadbeat Recordings. And then there was which also had a group inside of it called Drunken Theories, which included producers that were part of that movement. And so he was one of them. Another one's name is Temper 3000. And then there was a couple other ones that I didn't really keep up with. But those two always show love. Like in the scene, we would always kick it and, just talk music and compare. And they made dope beats. Like, so it was dope to find other individuals that made beats that you respected, on a certain level. But not only that, but Dolo was he's like one of my favorite DJs, like, period. Like, the dude is like one of the best, like, mix DJs. Like, he mixes music very well. And it doesn't matter what kind of party it is. It could be a hard rock, underground music, event, or it could be some straight up club music, or it could be like old school. The dude has like a deep record collection.
Yeah.
Like, every time I used to go to his crib, records, the shelves, he would pull out stuff that I was like, what is this? So, man, it was just a friendship that grew over starting with just mutual respect over the music, and eventually him as well as Temper 3000, we all kind of became a crew together, and made a lot of music. And Dolo's like, officially, if I were to do a show, Dolo would be my DJ. You know what I'm saying? So we've rocked out a lot of shows. A notable one is we opened for Raekwon back in that was about 10 years ago, and he was our DJ. He rocked it out. We did a lot of local shows. He did it like, he's working on stuff for me right now. I'm working on stuff for him right now. That's the homeboy. That's my brother right there. So yeah, Dolo's that dude.
Yeah, we had him on the show not too long ago, and we saw the collection in the background.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, definitely. And DJ Dolo, I got the vinyl.
Woo! Got it in the plastic.
Yeah, finally came in.
That's what's up.
Yeah, man. Enjoy that.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Now, you said you known him for about 20 years. I also noticed that you worked with Critical Madness for a significant amount of time.
Those are my dudes too. They a lot of mutual experiences with all of us. The people you're mentioning, we've been part of the scene. We've had certain friendship levels like for years. Critical Madness, man, a lot of history there too. So Critical and Madness, as you know, they're two members, and I met them both back around the same time. I think I met Madness first, back in like maybe 99, from open mics and stuff like that. And Madness used to, when he heard a little bit about my music, he was excited to make music together. So he would hit me up like, yo, I want to buy some beats. And so he used to come through to the crib. When I used to live in Altamont Springs, he used to come through and just peep beats and pay for services for music. His very first song that he ever recorded was with me. And and it was called It's Madness. It was a hype song, crazy song. So then we made more songs together. Bacardi Fifth, I remember that joint. That was like a party song. So through him, I met Critical, and Critical, a lot of mutual as well, a lot of stuff, because he actually grew up in the same neighborhood or area as Temper 3000, who's also the connection with Dolo, which is over in Melbourne area. Same thing, mutual respect because of what I did with Madness, and then I started to respect his music too and his style, and they both are dope MCs. I give them extra respect as an MC because this was during an era where we were proud to be freestylers. So, right now, I can go on a whole rant about, the open mics or the battle scene, but in my day, we freestyled in battles. So we were proud that we could come off the head and, take someone down. So they were the sharpest. They were two of the sharpest that I knew at the time. So they kept me on my toes because I was battling too. And man, they were something special when they were on that battle circuit. Something special. So so same thing though. We eventually through music became friends. Critical and I became roommates in Brooklyn together. We lived together for a couple of years. In an apartment, it was like 5 of us in there, and we all made music, so it was crazy. So a lot of crazy memories with those guys. My man Madness just had a kid not that long ago. I was at his wedding. In the backtrack, Dolo was the DJ at my wedding. So like we're all cool. Like, yeah, it's a lot of family stuff going on. Like, and so I'm super happy. If nothing else happens, I know I have these friendships. You know what I'm saying? If nothing else, like, were to ever happen, like, it doesn't matter about the music. Like, these are the people that I consider like real friends. So I'm happy about that.
That's great. Now, early happy Father's Day to you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And
are you a father?
Yes, I am.
Oh, happy Father's Day, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are your children following any of your musical steps?
So my oldest, he really doesn't care. He's like he's like an old soul in an 18-year-old. Like, he listens to like Frank Sinatra and like and stuff like that. Like real like that type of Rat Pack like vibe, stuff. So I put him on to a lot of stuff, but he's not really big on hip hop at all. But my youngest is 6, and I had a proud moment just like this last couple of days. I dropped a single not that long ago, and so I played it for him, and he's like, "Daddy, what's that?" And I was like, "It's a new song." And before I told him it was me, I was like, "You like it?" He's like, "Yeah. Can you put it on my playlist?" I was like, "Yeah, I got you. You know who that is? It sounds like you." I was like, "It is. It's me." And he was like, "Whoa!" He was blown away. And that was about a week ago. And every time I pick him up from camp, he gets in the car and he goes, "Hey, Daddy, play the song. Play Already Know. Play it and put it on loop." Like, that's the catcher. He's like, "Put it on loop." So like, that's a proud moment. Like, because before that, he knew, because I have like equipment all around, so he knows I make music, and I let him mess around with the stuff from time to time. But like, that was the first. Now that he's 6 and he's starting to like, know things, he's starting to realize, So it was that was a cool moment.
Yeah, at a good age, you start absorbing all of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think he might be musical too. We have a piano downstairs that he messes around on a lot. So I'm starting to price some music lessons and see what I can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now with your oldest, I saw a picture of him playing the double bass. Is he still playing that?
So he's not playing it at this moment, because he's more focused on just trying to get into college and start school. But he used to play it a lot. He was in the band. He was in orchestra during his last 2 years. Before that, he was in the marching band from middle school up till he was a junior in high school. And he played the bass, and he played really well. They had a lot of events through the year, and he doesn't actually have his own bass because he uses the one that was from school.
Okay.
But he does have a bass guitar, and he knows how to play that as well. And before that, he played the tuba when he was in the marching band. So he's got some musical skills.
Yeah.
I just leave it up to him. If he wants to I'm not going to push him. If he wants to do that stuff, he'll do it. And I'll support him, of course.
That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. That's what we do.
He's already showing a diverse choices with what he knows how to play. So that's good right there. Yeah,
he wanted to play the drums at first, but guess what? That was already taken. And it seems to be the number one instrument that every kid wants to play. So he didn't get the chance to. But I think it turned out to be better that he learned those type of instruments in the long run. Knowing him, those kind of favor his music style.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, one of my probably it might be my second favorite Midas the Beats album. That's AU Another Universe, and on that album, it was you handled a lot of like about half the production as well as I met your brother. I make mad beats. I think
on there.
Yeah, I think Oh No and rest in peace Pat and Lock as well on there.
Yep.
Tell us about that album.
So that album was a dope experience. Personally, when that album was being made, I was going through some things myself because that was my transition from New York back to Florida. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but the reason for me coming back was not really like a positive thing. It was something like just kind of I had to get back and get some traction in my personal life. But during that time, what kept me up and about was Midas. Like Midas is still one of the hungriest rappers I've ever met. Aside him being my little brother, like, you know, whatever the case is, the dude is one of the hungriest MCs that I know. And so the fact that I personally know this guy and I think of him as one of the like greatest rappers I know is a big deal. And back then, it was the same. Like he was super hungry. And AU was supposed to be that first like real like official album because he had dropped projects before that, like mixtape type albums, like Midas versus Pete Rock, DJ Muggs versus Midas, where he would basically take their production and rap over it, you know, to prove that he's better than whoever was rapping on it before. You know what I'm saying? And that was his thing for a while, and then AU became an idea for him, and he wanted to be big with it. He wanted to do bigger things. He wanted to reach bigger crowds. So that's why. And there were certain relationships that developed from that whole thing. Oh No, for instance, I met Oh No through Planet Asia, and then Planet Asia, I introduced Planet Asia to Midas, and then Oh No got introduced to Midas. So. And Planet Asia and Ono were like they were like good dudes. Like they saw what we were doing and respected it. So they became like real close with us too at that time. And we kind of like during that little few years, like we kept up with each other pretty heavy. And Ono came through to my crib when I was living in Brooklyn. He would kick it with us. We'd do a couple things, chill, whatever. And then I went to Cali a couple years later, kicked it with Planet Asia. We did music, kicked it with Oh No. So it kind of became this like little momentary like circle of cool stuff happening. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm supposed to curse, whatever. But
that's okay.
Okay, cool. So it was a lot of cool stuff happening, and with that group. I met Madlib through Planet Asia and Ono, which was a dope experience. Just meeting him, and he was like, just the fact that I was messing with Planet Asia, he bought me a drink. Like one day, I was like, "What? Madlib's buying me a drink?"
I was gonna ask you when you met him. I was thinking it was around the time you met Planet Asia. So yeah.
That was 2011, I think it was. So. But back to AU. So all of these elements just came into place. So, you know, PA, Planet Asia, during 2010, I had him come to Orlando. So he came and actually kicked it with me and stayed by me for a solid week. And we just knocked out joints. And while we were doing that, he also knocked out, we saw him, he did a show in Jacksonville. And then we went to his hotel and we knocked out the verse for Midas's album, for the song that they did together, After Hours, on the album, right? Which is also featuring my brother Armin as well. And that was a funny experience too, because that same day we saw Peyton Locke as well, rest in peace, and kicked it and whatnot. So which, you know, Peyton, there's a story behind Peyton too, but AU, yeah. So Rock Mars. There was a song he did with Rock Marciano that's on there as well, and that song was something they did together in correlation with Marco Polo, producer from Toronto, now in Brooklyn or New York, whatever. He's a cool dude too. But anyways, they took that song. That's what kind of started the movement for him. He was like, "Yo, I need to do the album." You know what I'm saying? I got the feature. I got Ono. I got U2, of course, talking about I Make Mad and Czar. So we just knocked out joints. Like it just kind of happened organically at that point. And that album, the Heart and Brain album, I Make Mad Beats first album, they all came out, I think, within like a year of each other. Like, so that was that 2009, 2010, 2011 era was pretty heavy of releases. So, but AU was the album. Working on that album was definitely therapeutic for me with Midas, because Midas kept my mind off of other things just through music, you know, and just from our brotherhood, you know what I'm saying? So, so it turned a negative era for me into a positive. For sure.
That's great. Yeah. And the following year, you released via satellite.
Yeah. So that came out I think it was a couple of years later or so. But we started releasing singles for it a little before the release. So that album, as I just told you, PA came in 2010, 2011. I went to Cali in 2011. So those were some of the first tracks that were recorded for that album. It was in those years. And then we didn't put a rush on it.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
That's what Siri think I'm talking to. So we didn't put a rush on it. We just knock out joints and just make it organic. We didn't want to say let's put a date on it or nothing like that. So we eventually knocked out enough joints that we were like, this is pretty solid. I think the last group of songs we recorded for that album were the year it was a few months before I got married in 2013. That was it. That was the closeout. And so he came to Orlando again. We started shooting mad videos. We did like 3 or 4 videos. I think we shot actually 5, but only 3 we actually put out. And then we had enough to support the album. We were like, all right, we got videos, we got singles, we're ready. So that's in that. My man came through and mastered that album, Temper 3000. My man Gift Revolver did the artwork. Super talented artist.
Yes, he is. Yep.
Yeah,
he works with Ninth Prince from Killer Army a lot.
Yes. Ninth Prince came to my crib. We did a song together once with Midas, and we called it Thundercats. It was called Thundercats. That was a hard joint. But yeah. Shout out to Gift Revolver, because he did actually a big bulk of the artwork for our crew. Like a lot of stuff. He did a lot of stuff for Midas. He did a lot of stuff for me. He did the Drum Major album cover as well. So, big salute to Gift Revolver. Super talented dude, and he does music. So
yeah.
But yeah, like that's how that's how all that stuff came together. We finally released the album. It did pretty well. Like got a lot of credibility for that album. A lot of people still come to me this day talking about that album, saying, "Yo, that's one of my favorite albums with Planet Asia on it," and I'm humbled by that, and I appreciate it. So, great experience, and I gained a brother out of Planet Asia in that experience as well. It started off as something with business, and it turned into something bigger. Just to kind of give you context, I met Planet Asia back in 2004. And it was after I dropped my first album, Dirty Work, and I knew that if I wanted to keep making music, that I had to like start reaching out and start like kind of diversifying like my areas and stuff like that. So one of the MCs I respected back in 2003, 2004 was Planet Asia, and the work he did with like Cali Agents and the stuff he did with like
Schoolyard.
Schoolyard, exactly. Yeah, Schoolyard. And Madlib and Peanut Butter Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I was like, I wonder if I could reach this dude. And I remember like I don't know, going through the internet. He had a website, planetasia.com at the time, and I just reached out to his manager. He reached back, and of course, it was talk about money, because that's the only way. And I was like, all right, bet. So I found out what I had to do. I found out how much I needed to make something pop and get a song with him. And then it eventually became more of a collaboration because he was like, well, yo, can you get a show for Planet Asia in Orlando? I was like, yeah, I could definitely do that. So then I got that set up. And then he was able to come down on the price on the verse. And then when he came, it was like, yo, picked him up from the airport. We went straight to the studio, knocked it out, whole experience. We kicked it after the show and everything. And he was like, yo, I never got treatment like this before, coming out here. It's like he showed respect for that.
Yeah.
So, that was a good thing. And just from that point on, he was just like, yo, just hit me up. And whenever I come to Florida, I'm going to hit you. So a couple of years later, he was like, yo, Zar, I'm going to be in Orlando. What's up? So I was the person he would hit up. And he'd come through, kick it, and he'd lay some verses. And it just became an organic thing. And then, fast forward via satellite. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great because, there's not too many genuine stories of producers and MCs being able to work like that and build a bond.
Absolutely.
The way you did, yeah. Yeah,
it was pretty rare. It was a rarity at the time. And I didn't know anybody really from my way that did that. So when I did that, I felt like this is a special moment. I need to make sure, I come through and represent and don't take it for granted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was definitely a great moment for me. So via satellite.
Yeah.
That's my joint.
Now I gotta ask you about Ono because I know he's not just a video game nerd, but he knows how to build quite a few things and is quite gifted in programming. Have you seen his pad when you were over there?
I've seen pictures. I never went to his spot, but pictures. He used to send us messages, Midas and myself, telling us what he's working on, mad scientist stuff, like creating like rigs, like all types of stuff. And I thought I was a video game head, but after meeting Ono, I was like, man, I'm like normal mode. You know what I'm saying? I'm not hard mode. I'm normal mode. Ono was about that life. But and what's cool about Ono though is as he incorporated a lot of that stuff in his music too. People won't even know a lot of the music that he samples like video game music and like some really rare stuff goes into his music. But you can tell if you really know, you can hear that stuff. So that dude is super talented. I mean, the dude could DJ, he could make gaming rigs, he could produce rap. Ono was definitely on my radar before I even knew him. One of my favorite projects from him is it's called the Dr. No Experiment.
Oh yeah,
it's an instrumental project. I think it was the first one on the Stone's Throw label, and I was in New York playing the hell out of that album. That was my joint. So when I met him, I was humbled. We saw each other multiple times from Brooklyn to Cali to even Austin. We kicked it together at South by Southwest. That's when he introduced me to Alchemist. So that was a cool experience. I'm sorry. And I had a couple of emails back and forth for Alchemist. Nothing came out of it, but it was still cool. You know what I'm saying?
One of our HHDG media members, the mayor, is asking, is it possible for you to connect us with Ono?
I could try. Yeah, I could absolutely try to reach out to him and see if he hits me back. And the dude is busy. So I would say when I reach out to him, he usually gets back maybe a week or two later. You know what I'm saying? But I could definitely try for sure. Between myself and Midas, we can definitely reach out.
Cool. Appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, last month you released the new single "Already Know," and you were just explaining to about how much your youngest son loves that track.
Yeah.
Tell the people about this and the upcoming project that'll be on, titled "Other," which is an acronym I'm not familiar, but you can explain.
Absolutely. So the story behind that, well, let's start with the single first. So yeah, the single came out last month. It's called Already Know. Um, and I put it on Bandcamp at first just to kind of just instantly splash heads that may want something real quick. I'm actually going to put out a campaign for the single that is now on Spotify. It's on everything now, on Amazon Music, so it's out there. I'm shooting a video for it pretty soon. So that's the first splash from the album, just a little something, because I love the vibe of that song, and I'm very particular with like the first song I would put out on a project I do, because I think back to like the albums I did particularly, and there's always a certain vibe of where you get a little bit of more so the core of what TzariZM is, like some hardcore funky stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That track to me represents that. It's a little zany and crazy, with a little humming in the back and the crazy break. You know what I'm saying? So that's my joint. And I'll be pushing the campaign out for that pretty soon on all platforms. Now, as far as the project, Other is a long time coming, because it all started with the project that I never put out, called Overtime. Overtime was supposed to be a sequel to Dirty Work. And the whole idea with Dirty Work, like the whole vibe of the album was, there was a lot of skits and interludes in between songs, and it was about like basically me as an MC trying to prove myself in a world that it was kind of like commercially driven mainstream music, and the type of music I made was hard for me to get a job. Like, you know what I'm saying? So to say, it wouldn't be accepted on the mainstream level. So Dirty Work to me was like, well, somebody's got to do the work, right? Somebody's got to put out this hard shit. Somebody's got to put out this grimy stuff. So that was that. And that album was 80 minutes to the brim, like 27 songs. It was probably the hungriest version of me you would ever find, right? And so after that, I was like, all right, well, then the sequel's got to be Overtime. I'm still doing the work, right? So but things happen in life, and eventually I started becoming more in producer mode, which was a blessing too, because there were a lot of people reaching out for production. So I started kind of really playing that producer hat, instead of rapping so much. I still wrote, I still had joints in the stash, but I just became a producer. So Overtime never really manifested, because I did other projects like The Heart and Brain, and we did an EP, and then we did an album together. And I was really like into that, like I was zoned into doing that stuff and just being a producer. I stopped battle rapping at that point in time. I didn't really go to open mics as much. It was really all about producing. So I was studying it. I was studying how to improve my beats, how to improve the way I program my drums, samples, using instrumentation. It was a really hard, it was a really long journey that I had to kind of like put my MC stuff to the side and really like teach myself to elevate, because I was starting to hear like other producers that were coming out, and I was like, man, I know I could be as good as them. And so I would try to make sure that I'm at par, and I'm still growing, evolving as a producer. So moving forward, like I said, Overtime never came out. And after all these other projects and working with my people and doing projects and this and that, I always said to myself, I need to still do another album that kind of correlates to that, to the whole purpose of that. And I never let go of it. I've done tons of music since then. And so then Other came out of it. And the acronym for Other is Overtime, He Earns Respect. So that still has Overtime as part of the vibe. It's still there, right? Even some years later, but it's just manifested as something new. So so this is like the more adult version of what would have been, what would have happened, like 15 some years ago. 10 to 15 years ago. This is a more adult version. I've been through hell and back, you know what I'm saying, with experiences. I've hit certain lows. And so now I'm more mature. I'm more versed on just the ways of the world. So that's what Other is about. Over time he earns respect. I'm still here. I still do music. It's just I'm an adult now. I got things. I got stories. I got new experiences. I'm not that little kid that was naive back in the day that I used to be, just rapping on the street. Things are different. So it's definitely a more serious vibe overall. It has some straight hip hop moments and it has some dark moments, and it has some light moments. But ultimately is me. And I'll be releasing another single in about midsummer-ish, so probably about August.
Okay.
A new single will come out, and then I'll put out probably one more that will actually come out parallel to probably the album. So my plan is to drop the album in November. So when the album comes, it'll be out. And the thing is, I already have 2 albums worth or 2 projects worth. So I'm planning on actually dropping 2 volumes of it. So the first one is just going to be volume 1 of Other, and then the second one will be volume 2, which is just going to be like a continuation. And I want people to think of it kind of like a double cassette or a double album. Like they're gonna be attached to each other. They're gonna make sense. So I'm looking forward to dropping it finally. It's been a long time. So I put a lot of focus in other things and other people's projects, producing and doing this and that. And, I felt like I haven't given myself a fair amount of time to just put out my own stuff, without any distractions.
Right.
So that's that movement.
Now with the new track, already know, when I first heard it, it has a playful feel to it, but at the same time, it still has your signature knock in the production and then how you approach it on the mic. And then when you see the cover, I was like, okay, I see how he's going with this.
Yeah, you see the vibe, you see what I'm trying to do. And the cover is going to be kind of like the campaign. So there'll be some more covers just like that, but different moments on the covers. So I had to dig deep in the picture stash. But I got some more pictures coming that represent that same vibe. But that's kind of the push. Like you see the kid version of me, you see what's going on, you know the music, how it sounds. Yeah, like that song is it's just a funky song to me. Like that vibe is something that let's just put it this way. I when I put out music or do music, I don't tend to like repeat my music or play my music for myself a lot, right? Okay. I don't usually when I'm done with it or I put it out, like for instance, Via Satellite. I haven't listened to that album in a minute. You know what I'm saying? It's been a while. But this song, like particularly, like is like, well, because of my son also asking for it, like I really don't mind listening to this song because it's just a song that I'm like, yeah, this is bouncy, this is funky. Mm-hmm. So I'm playing it in the car, whether I rap on it or not. Like I just love the vibe of it. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully others catch the same feel.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna get onto that, and we're gonna have that up on our website as well.
Oh, appreciate you, man. Respect.
And tell us about your label, Dockside Music Group.
So Dockside Music Group is less of a label officially, so to say, but more so of a movement, right? It's a movement that'll never die because we're all like family, right? Like so, we're all family. Like my brother, I make mad beats, and then I have Midas. Saying then there's my boy Temper 3000, my boy Amin, Critical Madness are part of the movement. Even Dolo, like Okido, my boy Okido. He's my cousin. He's my real cousin, and he's super talented too. He produces, sings, raps. So definitely check him out too. Yeah, it's just a number of us, like a whole bunch of us doing we're just family. my boy Vice, the one that rapped on the Heart and Brain album.
Mhm.
We all kick it. Like we generally like, you know what I'm saying, are brothers and friends. Like our wives kick it together, and our, you know, their girlfriends and wives, they kick it together. We get up for birthdays. Like, so Dockside Music Group is just a representation of our family. Like, so it'll always be part of the movement, like no matter what. Like people, especially around here in Orlando or in Florida, they know about Dockside DMG. When they see us, they see a couple of us, yo, Dockside is in the building. We here. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, kind of like how the Wu movement is, you know what I'm saying? Like the Wu-Tang movement. You see one or two of them, that's Wu-Tang, you know? So that's family. It's just family. Like that's as much as I can say about that.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Are you currently handling any production for any other artists?
So I've been focusing more on myself
Mm.
lately. But you know, there's people there are artists that also I consider friends that, you know, I dip in and out of producing for all the time. You know, and a couple of them to name is I did some production for Wordsworth not that long
Yeah.
ago.
Mhm.
I produced for one of his albums a few albums ago. He knocks music out like this. He's like blah blah blah. He's knocking stuff out. He stays consistent and very very versed as a rapper. So and he's also another MC that I looked up to coming up as well. So that's my man right there. Little Vic is another rapper out that has been consistent, just crazy with the bars.
Yeah, I'm familiar with.
Yeah, Little Vic is a monster.
Yeah.
And that dude can make beats too.
Yep.
He's very talented. And I met him through Critical Madness. They were already kicking it and cool. And we ended up making some music together. So I've sent him beats. He's used beats for his projects. He put out a single using my production. I got some
sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I got verses from him that'll be featured on projects we do coming up soon. Yeah, we keep up with each other pretty often. So PA, Planet Asia, we still just talk every once in a while. Like, you know, it may be a few months here and there I talk to him, but and it's usually not even really just like, yo, you good? You know, like type of stuff. And we've always said we'll do more music. We'll do another sequel, or we'll do a sequel to Via Satellite. But there's no promises, no dates or nothing on that because he's got a lot of stuff going on right now. So, but when it's right, we'll definitely be getting some more stuff done as well. But other than that, Midas, of course, an artist named Mosaic. She's a very talented singer. She also is a instrumentalist. She plays the guitar. If you haven't heard of her, she's really dope. Yeah, Mosaic. Definitely look her up. She put out projects through Sky 5, which is my cousin Okiddo's imprint.
Okay.
He produced it. Produced her for a couple of her projects, and she's real dope. So we've been slowly working on a project together too. But other than that, it's been pretty much just me, just kind of just make sure. Like, I'll be honest, I'm just trying to be selfish. Like, beats I make, like I want to pick them, and if I want them or not, you know what I'm saying. Before someone be like, "Yo, let me get that," you know what I'm saying. So, like, I want first pick now. You know what I'm saying. So that's the movement right now.
Is there any plans for maybe possibly you and your brother doing a project in the future?
Oh, 100%. We got joints already. Like that's nothing. Yeah, we've had ideas, projects in mind. He's on the other project. He got a beat on there on the first one. That's a joint that I might actually just put that joint out too. We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna see him in a couple of weeks. I'm taking a trip to Memphis for the 4th, and because our grandfather was a 4th of July baby, so we celebrate 4th. We don't celebrate 4th like everybody else. We celebrate as like a memorial for him. You know, he passed some years back, but that's his birthday. So it just happened to be on a day we could use fireworks and stuff like that. But so I'll be knocking out some more music when I get down there with him as well. But yeah, you'll definitely hear some music, some stuff. There'll be a project that'll surface at some point. Oh, well, I can say there's a project, not just me and him, but me, him, and Midas that we're doing together.
Ah, there you go.
And it's I don't want to give too much details away. Like there's a lot. We got most of it done. Like honestly, it's like only like maybe a couple songs left that we would do. But that project is going to be crazy, like monstrous. Like that's some other stuff. Like some of the bars that, because we feed off each other heavily, Midas and myself, when it comes to raps. He's probably, if it was one single MC that I know that like keeps me on my toes, it's definitely him. So we bring bars. He'd be like, "Yo, man, why you had to do me like that?" Like, you know, it's like a friendly competition. And he'd be like trying to rewrite his verse of like, you know, like, and then we got my brother. I make mad on the beats, so it's crazy. Yeah, it's a dope joint. I can't wait to that one comes to fruition.
One of our members of the group asked, "When's the next creator get together creative meetup in Orlando?"
So if you're like as far as like the scene itself, I'm not really sure when it is. There's been less of that happening. I mean, obviously for coronavirus, that really kind of shut a lot of things down in the scene. For a while, they did a lot of virtual meetings. Like there were meetings that were on Twitch where we would get up, even perform on Twitch, like have like these kind of like live Twitch shows where we're in like our room performing or we pre-record. In fact, my man DJ Cub, shout out to DJ Cub, used to have a movement. I think he still has the movement, but it's called Grand Collab, and that's his imprint. And he would throw a whole bunch of events. So during COVID, he was throwing these virtual events where he would get performers to perform live or either have a pre-recorded performance, and it would stream on Twitch. So I actually filmed Midas's performance on the side of the road somewhere, like cars flying by. And he got a mic, and there's nothing but like grass fields and stuff like that. And he's over there just rocking it, doing crazy stuff. And that was a pretty cool event. But I'm not really sure when the next like creator like get up would be is coming. It's definitely overdue though. And now that things are starting to kind of open up, I'm pretty sure it'll pop up sometime this year. Something will come up.
Okay. Now you said you're a big gamer. Do you still have that gold Legend of Zelda cartridge? I
do. I don't want to like run out and leave you here, but I downstairs. I have two of them.
Oh.
Yeah, I got the Legend of Zelda, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that one in the box. I just got the cartridge.
Okay.
But I got the Adventure of Link, which was Zelda 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like brand new. Like it looks brand new. It's still in the box with the manual. Little Nintendo slide, like
man, yeah, little black thin slide, yeah.
Yep. That one is on one of my shelves downstairs. So yeah, I don't play with that, man. Zelda is like my favorite stuff. Like I grew up on Zelda, so yeah, it's definitely.
Did you check out Breath of the Wild 2 at the E3 this year?
I did.
Did you see the little trailer? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The wife and I, because my wife games too, so we were both watching it on our little phone while we were eating lunch, and I was like, "Oh, they're not gonna show no Zelda stuff because it looked like it was about to end." And then they said, "We have one more thing for you," or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And then outside, and we looked at each other like, and so I'm super ready, like, and I have to buy games to just wait to that moment, but like Skyward Sword is coming back out with an HD version, so I pre-ordered that. A new Metroid game, yeah, I all that stuff. I can talk that stuff for
yeah.
yeah. I'm ready. I'm all about that.
Do you also go to conventions for the games and the comics?
When I can, I've been to a few comic conventions. MegaCon. I've been to a
Yeah.
few times out here, and I didn't make it not last year, but the year before. So I'm overdue. And I usually roll up. Like the last time I went there, they had a Street Fighter 4 booth, and like basically everybody just congregate and kind of end up having this unofficial tournament. And I got on there, and I don't mean to toot my own horn. Nobody messes with my E Honda, like nobody. Like so, I was on the controller for a good hour and a half before I just decided to leave. I was like, all right, man, there's nothing else left. Nobody can get me, so I walked away.
You heard that, everybody? No losses. He decided to leave.
Let's go. Whoever won it. I played at tournaments. They were gaming tournaments. I won Street Fighter tournaments. I was serious about that life for a while. So I don't play Street Fighter like that heavy, but I still play games in general. Like I said, I love Zelda games. Play Xbox and Midas. We play a lot of games. We used to have 2K tournaments like once a month.
Oh.
And we have a pot like $100. Whoever win, like whoever got the belt, keep the belt until the next one. Like, yeah, it used to be serious. It used to be serious.
Yeah, the next MegaCon down there is going to be in August because I know they delayed it. So I believe it's going to be like the middle of August this year. Yeah,
I'm definitely going to try to get out to this one. Like I said, it's been about 2 or 3 years since I've been to one. But I've been to some more small scale conventions they've had for comics that pop up on International Drive from time to time. And, I try to support the comic shops around our way and pop in every once in a while. There's one called A Comic Shop, actually right across the street from where I work at Full Sail. And they have an area called Geek Easy, which is basically like a bar in the back. So it's like the comic shop. And then there's an extra like partition that's like for like beers and people that want to perform and do stuff. So a lot of cool events happen there. So I'm looking forward to them getting back to making that a regular thing.
Now you just said something that just piqued my interest. You say you work at Full Sail.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
I've been there for 9.5 years now. So I was a lab instructor for many years, and not too long ago, sometime last year, moved up to associate course director. So now I lecture my own classes,
Nice.
And all that good stuff. But I've helped teach classes from digital audio to live event design to motion graphics. And now I teach a core course, which is one of the courses that's like considered like general education, but it's for technology. Basically, an introduction to technology in the media industry. So we're talking about computer science. We're talking about graphic design. We're talking computer animation. We're a core course for those type of individuals that come to Full Sail.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been fun. Can't complain. I love Full Sail. The culture there is really creative.
See, in the beginning, I said it was probably more than a double threat. And there you have it.
Teacher, yeah. So, and I tend to Clark Kent that a lot though. It's I don't really talk about my music too much on campus, but people find out anyway, and they're like, "Yo, why didn't you tell us?" I just, I'm like Mr. Professional when I'm on campus. So, but yeah, it's good stuff. I love teaching. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Definitely great. TzariZM, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for allowing us to interview you today. Let the people know where they can reach you at, where they can support your music.
Absolutely. You can find me on your streaming services if you just want to find music. So I'm on Spotify, Amazon, all that good stuff. My primary go-to is TzariZM.bandcamp.com. On IG, everything, Twitter, whatever. I'm at TzariZM, which is TzariZM. And holler at me. I post a lot of more of my stuff on Instagram, probably more than anywhere else. As far as just keeping people informed on stuff. So a lot of stuff coming though. I'm super in a different mode, like where I got hard drives of music. People have probably only heard maybe 5 to 9% of stuff I've done. So I'm not getting any younger. So I'm gonna start just putting out stuff just for the hell of it. Like, so there's gonna be a stream of music happening like throughout the year. Something's gonna be dropping.
It's great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that note, we're going to give our shout outs to our members, HHDG Media, KB, also known as Rock Vader KB, Skelly Top, T. Smith, and the Mayor, and myself, Wiki. And on that note, I'm going to say peace.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me. Have a blessed one.
You too.
Till next time. All right, yo.